Greetings, everyone. I know, did I go to Soviet Moldavia or something? I mean, we've got some falling apart, sort of cement madness, socialist stuff going on. After walking through, of course, a gorgeous Victorian neighborhood that got emptied out of its residents. And the people who do this madness can move in. Oh boy. Last night I was going through things and I was so sad about not having hot copy anymore of stuff. But I had taken a way cool class. It wasn't even a class, it was a person who knew many things, and she would let people come to her house on Wednesdays, and if you went you did get credit, but she refused to work for the school. It was like she thought it was filthy lucre or something, and yet the school knew. Her name was Lee Piper, and she was an incredible poet. She was really good friends with Alan Watts, not the one that I've seen in the comments section, who's amazing as well. It's funny, like that name, right? And amazingness. There's another kind of group of names like that, but it's not quite as amazing. It's Ken Kesey, who wrote, oh, I love that book, Once a Great Notion. And then the one people know more, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then there's Ken Keyes, who writes kind of new age. He wrote The 100th Monkey, and is that a true story or not? It was kind of an interesting one, kind of a 70s tale about, monkeys washing fruit that had never been washed before, and by the time the 100th one did it, then they all started to or something. It was kind of about consciousness. Yeah, that's where they're going to grow something that's going to attract the bugs that Jay Inslee's going to be feeding us, right? Wow, this place is in disarray and disrepair. Holy canola. And they built a new building like right there on top of all this. We are currently actually on top of a parking garage, and this does periodically fall. So what it was that I was looking into from this incredible class I took from this woman, it was called Dreams Class, just because she just couldn't really think of a title, and a lot of it really was surrounded by dreams, the unconscious, consciousness, and she was friends with Joseph Campbell. This was a heavy hitter in Chicago, and I was like, yeah, I'm going, I'm going to this. So I would go every Wednesday night, and it was this mysterious, incredible class. But she would bring out Life magazines, and they weren't really that old back then. They were kind of still happening, and we would hold them up to the light, and there would be images that would come through that were just wild, because we were also studying subliminals in there, and there was no better place to study them than the alcohol and the cigarette ads are kind of the known ones that, people see the word, SX in an ice cube. And that was what I was seeing on the computer, the kind of more known ones. But there was this level we all found, and no one was expecting it. It wasn't something she was expecting. See, they closed off this. Yeah, oh, I forgot to tell you. Like, everything that was good here, they take away. They being, the lizard people, the culture, whatever it is, I don't even have a name for them. This is sad. I did a bit on this one day, and then it was like too sad to put up. But this is the Korean Veterans War Memorial, and it's called the Forgotten War. Many people died because aid wasn't sent to them. They were just See, it's called the Forgotten War, but it was not forgotten. They were ditched on purpose. And MacArthur was ditched on purpose. Like, it's sort of like MacArthur was a joke, but it really had to do with Eisenhower ditching them on purpose. And it's a big, long, horrible story about why that happened. And I don't even want to go into it now. I'll start crying. But yeah, they sent them there and ditched them. Eisenhower, that commie. Okay, so here we are at the subliminal thing, and that's where I went on the computer, and there's been a lot that I haven't been able to do lately because there are stories that I used to see, and I'd be like, okay, that's an LA Times story, and now I'll go and I won't find it, and that's on a different subject. So here we are, subliminals. So we were like finding our own subliminals, and suddenly we were finding them in really weird places you wouldn't expect. Here's one that still had like the sex theme or whatever, but where you wouldn't expect to find it. One was in a New York Times newspaper, and sometimes with the subliminals you could hold them up to the light and you could see words. Sometimes it wouldn't be held up to the light. You would just look at it and see images. You know, like once again, I remember seeing race cars in ice cubes for a liquor commercial. You know, so they were, that one, you know, isn't as sexual as maybe more materialistic, or, you know, might have that sexual aspect of like the sports car or whatever. So this one was a Vietnam War pic of, you know, helicopters and, you know, going over jungles and, you know, just like your standard Vietnam picture, and New York Times, you know, black and white, and it had, and then like the one good building, right, they tore down. There was a building there at the end of the little thing you go over, and it was where you could go and get like hot cocoa, and they would give out little free brochures about like cool things to do in Washington State. It was like the one sort of friendly, cool place over there. And they tore it down, right? Like, no, we're not gonna have a hospitality center. We can't have that, you know? So that kind of made me really sad. Lately, there's just too many like weird, they're just tearing this place apart. But I guess that's the way of the world. What, as V.S. Naipaul said, the world is as it is. Help. Okay, so we've got this Vietnam picture, and if you held it up to the light, it had the word sex written all over it, which was just like rather tasteless, right? This kind of like war pic, and that was straight out of the New York Slime. So that's a weird one, you know? Okay, you know, we can like get the kind of like the sex with the alcohol, but like the sex with the Vietnam War, like, wow. And there was another one like it that I thought I would find because it was a Ma Bell ad, and it had a child standing on a ton of phone books, and it was a little bit like the Morton Salt commercial, right? The little girl in the really short dress, and it already was a little bit kind of and it also had the words sex, and just like the way the phone books were placed, and so that was a creepy one. But getting into like a whole other realm, there was a Benson and Hedges one, and the only Benson and Hedges one I found on the computer was like another, like it was a really blatant sex one. But the Benson and Hedges one that we found actually, and it was weird because it actually said the word on the glove, like, you know, if you took a magnifying glass to the glove, on the glove, and like you would just look at it, it just, I don't know, you would probably just think it was the team. You wouldn't even see it, but when you put a micro magnifying glass up, the glove said death, which was interesting. And it was like a hockey glove. It was a hockey guy. It was kind of a funny ad, right? I don't know, he's smoking his Benson and Hedges while he's playing hockey. And, and it says death. So it was, and then we found a lot like that. We found others that had we found skulls in ice cubes, as opposed to just the SCX. You would also find these ice cubes that were just total skulls, just really scary. So there was a kind of a weird death wish thing going on. You weren't just buying for, sex or sports cars, but there were these ominous, and I'm just not sure about what to do with that, where to go with that. I never saw the little Mad Men show. I don't have a TV. I'm kind of bad I'm way behind things. I don't know if anything like that was brought up on that show. I did very little work on Madison Avenue in New York. I was mainly like corporate legal proofreader. I only went into ad agencies a little bit, kind of near the end, and I was sort of bummed. I was like, oh, here's a whole other thing. And it's funny, Anthony Bourdain said, I worked in the kitchens in New York. I was a cowboy. Like every, office environment, people had to behave. But I did notice in the little bit of ad agencies I went to, Bloom was one. It was a French one. And Addison was another. Addison did do ads, but a lot of what they did were also financial reports that are kind of weird and boring, but they kind of make themselves into slick little books, so they look like ads. But Addison did the tucks. If you've ever seen tucks at the pharmacy, some kind of hemorrhoid thing, they were the ones that designed that. So they did have a few. We did have a few things going there. And I'd like to, I wish I would have been able to talk to people more there. It was more of that wild cowboy environment that I think, oh, look who wants to play, he's too cute. Oh, you're too fun. Oh my gosh, he's going wild, you guys. Oh boy. You know that movie Rain Man? Yeah, we call him Rain Man out in the rain, and sometimes we call him Plain Man. There's Rain Man and then there's Plain Man, right? And wow. Yeah, you're too fun. We gotta go find other doggies. He's gonna rip me apart. He's gonna slash me. Edward Bernays, who was kind of around the same time as Theodore Adorno. And he worked for, he was Freud's nephew. One of them, right? There's that other one that's lives by where Madeleine McCann disappeared. But this one worked for FDR and said that propaganda, he said it himself, propaganda is the executive arm of the government. Wow. So, I wanted to look up, does Edward Bernays know Theodore Adorno, right? But I realized how much valuable stuff has been lost regarding subliminals, because you can't see them on the computer, right? You need to have the actual content, and it made me sad about not having my own kind of 60s Life magazine collection anymore. These things, they just happen, don't they? Oh boy, he sees another amazing doggy. Yep, there it is. And here we are at Das Capital. Yes, much love and many blessings.